Today on iHip, we are joined by Alex Bronzini-Vender, who is a writer from New York. He is part of the Harvard Crimson, correct? And
Yes.
he just wrote the most fascinating article for New York Magazine. Palantir comes to campus at a quiet conference at Yale. The company and its allies sketch a vision for AI, state power, and how to mix the two. And so, as I was telling Alex before we got on here, my view of Peter Thiel and Alex Karp and Palantir is that they are maniacal nut jobs that want to take over the world. Peter Thiel has been outspoken how he does not believe democracy can coexist with the future. And this just rampant elitism that the smart people should control everybody else, which I interpret that as rich people should control poor people. That's where I come to this article. So what I thought was fascinating about this whole deal were the contradictions in it and the fact that Alex Karp and Peter Thiel are so outspoken about how they view what AI should do. They should do weapons. They should be involved in ICE. They should, do the draft. They've made all this money under Trump, I think a 93% increase in revenue. Yet they go in on campus on the down low. So I thought that was an interesting thought. How did you perceive that?
It was a highly low-profile conference. There was no signage in the lobby. I only found out about it through a flyer that was sent by my editor. There was nothing promoted about this publicly. The students who I spoke to at this event were all, they told me that they believed that they had been there and that they had had the invitation extended to them by the organizers because they were, quote, not going to protest. And so it makes sense. Yale recently voted, the student government there recently voted to divest from Palantir. They're not popular on college campuses. So it made sense to me that they would choose to do this so secretly. What maybe made less sense to me is the fact that they would choose to do it at Yale at all. You may know that Alex Karp and Palantir and this whole sort of intellectual scene, if we can call it that, have the Palantir co-founder, Joe Lonsdale, is one of the trustees of the University of Austin, which is the school that was co-founded by Barry Weiss. Yeah. And so why are they doing it at Yale instead of at the University of Austin? That was a question that I didn't fully have answered. And my guess there, if you'll allow me to kind of rant here, is that the purpose of these kinds of institutions that are meant to challenge the big institutions, University of Austin, and also the Barry Weiss's Free Press, is not for them to exist as an end unto themselves. The point of the Free Press is to take over CBS News, in the same sense that the point of the University of Austin is to eventually provide a staging ground from which you can take over or at least exercise immense influence at Yale.
I thought the same thing because the student body did divest. That you pointed that in your article, but I also thought it was because my first thought when I saw the headline, Palantir comes to campus, I thought, oh God, now Palantir is going to be Turning Point. And it became very clear from the article where Turning Point goes after low education, lack critical thinking. They are looking for the intellectual elites. So it kind of made sense to me they would go to an Ivy League school to do that because they are after this aristocracy of intellect. And I think you even said that in the piece. Am I right?
Yeah, one of the speakers, Rusty Reno, used the phrase aristocracy of the intellect to describe what he believes AI will do to society. It's going to make, it's going to have this sort of underclass of people who just kind of get all their ideas from the models. And then the rest of us, all of us who go to elite schools and who, go to the Palantir conference are the people who give it the information give the chatbots the information on politics and on society that's sort of fed to this, to this underclass.
Okay, so so they were trying to address questions. And I thought a very pointed question that came out of the students for obvious reasons is they want, is our education going to become obsolete? And is AI going to take over what jobs would be ours? And I thought the response from the people on the, committee or whatever, the speakers, I thought they had a very bizarre answer, if you'll explain that for us.
Yeah, so Maya Salkin, who is a writer at Barry Weiss's Free Press, had a question for two of the panelists, Roger Kimball and Rusty Reno, who are both the conservative editors of First Thing and New Criterion, respectively, which was about what happens if AI takes jobs. And Kimball's answer was, quote, a rising tide lifts all boats. Sort of the idea, well, this is going to be, this is going to increase productivity and that will benefit everyone. Now, of course, what I found kind of strange about that response, and I told him this after, is that if you are someone who's a Trumpist like him, you can recognize that globalization and, the opening of free trade to the rest of the world, while it created a lot of growth in the United States, did not generate equal growth and left a lot of people worse off, even though it left the United States on balance better off. So why can't you realize that about AI? Why what's the intellectual block there where you can't extend that same scenario that you oppose so vocally in globalization? Hence, and hence how they want tariffs and all that. Why can't they think the same thing of AI? And they just didn't really seem to have an answer there.
Well, it was kind of like when I was your age, the same motto was trickle down economics.
Mm-hmm.
Wealth, growing wealth, it will trickle down to other
Mm-hmm.
people. And as we have seen with the complete gap in income and assets, that did not happen.
Mm-hmm.
Nor do I think AI is going to rise, rising tides. What is it?
Rising tide lifts all boats.
Lifts all boats. It's not going to lift shit because in the same article at the same forum, they're talking about being the elitist and everybody else are going to be the consumers. And it just struck me that the questions that they were being asked, it felt like that the students there got poo-pooed on. Like they even compared it to climate change flippantly. Like, oh, we've solved climate change. That's no longer an issue. And they even went so far as to call it nihilism, to not accept their form of thought. And I wonder how that hit you as a young person.
Well, I mean, I spoke to some of the young people in the room about how they felt about, the comparison of AI to climate. Some were like, well, you are this sort of long tenured editor of this conservative magazine. You have absolute job security. Like, why are you telling me this? I think that other people, especially elite colleges, feel quite secure. I don't know if that's a reasonable assumption. Just because you have a degree from Yale, that you will be protected in perpetuity from AI job loss if it happens. The other thing that I was thinking about is that even if you listen to what people like Dario Amodei at Anthropic say, they're intensely afraid of AI job loss. Like this isn't even a concern that this isn't a concern that's like a radical lefty thing. This is an incredibly mainstream thing to fear in the world of AI development. So I found it incredibly striking that that was not a fear that people in that room seemed to share.
You're right. It's so mainstream that my MAGA Fox News watching parents
Mhm.
are concerned about AI taking over jobs.
Yeah,
But
you're not like a pinko if you think that, AI
right.
poses a serious risk of dislocating the labor market.
Yeah, I just thought the whole thing was arrogance on steroids. Okay, one thing that I wanted to, I was like, what? Google's motto used to be "Don't be evil," and they
Mhm.
were just thought that was the dumbest thing they've ever heard. If you could
Mhm.
expound on that.
Yeah, so Palantir's sort of mythology, if you read Alex Karp, who's the CEO, and Nicholas Samizga, who's the director of corporate affairs and the general counsel, they co-wrote a book last year titled The Technological Republic, which kind of lays out their vision of the tech sector and US society and what both should look like. And they, as a company, have long taken issue with Google's motto, "Don't be evil." Google's former model, don't be evil," which they say is kind of, emphasizes the individual and their obligation to have moral clarity, and assumes that it's this they charge it with being this kind of techno libertarian idea, that allows the tech sector to say we're not of the state, we have no responsibility to the state, and on one hand, they are, I think, narrowly correct in their observation that, like, well, actually, big tech is not this like thing that emerged from nowhere. The government funded the internet, the government
Right.
funded all the technologies that then became the smartphone. It was big tech that commercialized them. It was not big tech that invented many of these technologies. So I think they're narrowly right in this observation. But I think they have this idea of what it means. So they're like, tech should serve the nation. Okay. But then their idea of service to the nation is tech should help the U.S. military detect targets to kill. Tech
Right.
should help help ICE decide who to deport. Tech should do all these things that engineers at Google protested over and resigned over. And something that I think is maybe the most flawed assumption about their whole idea that this can be a new legitimating myth for the tech sector, that the idea that we're newly willing to do the things that the US government wants us to do, and that will make people like us, is that, well, actually, I don't think that providing the technology for the war in Iran, which is a loathed war, like people don't like this at all, I don't think that being the tech company that says we are the ones willing to power this war is at all going to make them popular with the American people. I think even on the American right, there's a deep suspicion of mass surveillance and of
Right.
big data in that sense. So I think that they have miscalculated there.
I hope you're right. And one thing they said, which they go on, don't worry about your jobs. It's going to be fine. And then they talk about how AI is not going to be running the government. It's going to be the government.
Mm-hmm.
So how does that circle square?
Yeah, so that was a quote from Dean Ball, who is a former Trump advisor. And he has this kind of very expansive vision about what AI is going to do to human institutions, that it could conceivably replace the Supreme Court. I'm actually maybe we'd be slightly better if AI
Right,
replaced the
maybe.
Supreme Court. But in any case, he has this whole idea of around how AI is going to change the nature of the state in the same way that the printing press changed the nature of the state, and the telegram changed the nature of the state, in that you could now communicate information over long distances, and that this new technology is also going to be equally transformative for the way that we do statecraft going forward. And that may well be the case, that AI has these dramatic effects upon how governments work that we'll need to plan for. That said, that's kind of obviously contradictory to the view that Reno and Kimball have of AI, which is that it is like climate change, which is fake, and therefore we have no reason to worry about it, and we have no reason, like young people have no reason to be concerned about the impact of this technology upon labor markets, or the impact of this technology upon the world. Basically, that's just nihilism and doomerism.
But yet it's going to take over everything. Basically, It's going to run everything. Okay, one other quick question before we wrap up. I got the impression from your article that they are all chips in on government, like eminently domain and taking land for these AI centers. Like I live in Oklahoma City. We have a law right now. You can't build one of those centers, the AI centers where they
data
right out of
centers.
Yeah, data center. Sorry, gosh, I'm getting old.
That's fine.
The data center, you can't do one in Oklahoma City. And I guess they'll do that every year. But they're saying if we want to do a data center somewhere, and we don't give a shit about your electricity and your grid and your prices, the government can go in and say, this is where we're doing a data center. I found that to be really alarming, particularly when you hear about all the problems they're having in places where they're taking all the electricity, the prices are high, it's too big for the grid. What did you think about that?
Yeah, well, one of the speakers in attendance was this guy, Elliot Geiser, who's the Assistant Attorney General for the Office of Legal Counsel, which means that when Trump wants to do something, he's the guy who decides whether it's legal or not. So he was speaking about one of the sort of grave concerns that speakers at this conference had was, quote unquote, NIMBYism around data centers and efforts to block data center development in certain communities. And what can we do about that, given all the data centers we need to build? And one of the answers that he had is he had earlier this year used, I believe, the Defense Production Act to preempt the California environmental law that was blocking a pipeline. And he said, well, actually, we need this for purposes of national defense, and therefore the pipeline can be built. And one of the sort of, I guess, novel things that I saw at this conference, which is the administration had not said this before, is that they believe it would be legal in the event of a war, or in the event of let's say, the U.S. government decides, we need huge AI capabilities to defend the country, however that's defined. We can use the Defense Production Act to build data centers wherever we want them.
It's like tough shit. We're going to do it. You don't want it. It's kind of like the Aliens Enemies Act with Trump, like where there's an emergency. So now we're going to be able to take all these people in. It's like, that's bullshit, but we get what we want. So when you left that, this is kind of the